RDCWORLD1, everyone's favorite group of writers, directors, actors, streamers, and comedians. With 6.7 million subs, it's safe to say that they've reached staple status on YouTube through their absolute plethora of skits and more recently their streams in the advent of DreamCon. I personally have been watching RDC for over 10 years, watching their skill and some would say more importantly, their budgets, go up and up over time has been nothing more than an exhilarating and heartwarming experience. But I am a geek, a nerd, and a knucklehead McSpagatron! To be content with a heartwarming experience is far beyond my capacity. So I needed to know how powerful Mark Phillips would be if we took all of his versions and showings into account. Shortly thereafter, I realized that I couldn't accomplish this feat without doing the same for Leland. And then it became Desmond, and then it became Dylan, and 2.5 months later, here I am power scaling all of RDC. Of course, there are going to be some stipulations here. In Video Game House, Black Avengers, and Anime House, RDC play a multitude of different characters from video games, movies, and anime, but can't be afforded all of the feats that we see in those mediums. These characters consistently refer to those shows, games, and movies as separate from their true lives, while simultaneously using techniques and using abilities that are derived from those shows, games, and movies. Therefore, no feats from the source material will be included in my scale unless they're replicated in RDC canon. I'll be evaluating Mark, Dylan, Leland, Desmond, Af, and John on the criteria of strength, skill, speed, reactions, durability, constitution, instigating, and their general abilities. It's also worth noting that we're going to be going from the weakest members of RDC to the strongest member of RDC. That being said, I'm not a mathematician. The overwhelming majority of these feats are unquantifiable. I did one calculation based on an estimation, and that's it. Everything else is based purely on what can be inferred with the naked eye. If I get any information in the future, I'll surely come back to this and make corrections or updates. And when Video Game House 7, Hood Avatar 5, and Anime House 7 come out, I'll surely have to revisit this and do some updates. But until then, this is the comprehensive scale of RDC, starting with the two weakest members of RDC, John and Af. John and Af are both comparatively weak. With only 33 feats between them, they don't actually have enough screen time to hold a candle to the rest of RDC. That being said, let's get into there. John literally has 0 notable speed feats. His speed should be assumed to be on the level of that of a normal human. Af, on the other hand, has 1. During the second Hood Olympics, he participated in men's drug deals as the customer. He and Leland performed their 18-second drug deal in the span of less than 1. Both he and Leland were moving faster than eyesight, with the viewer only being capable of perceiving them dapping each other up, and that was it. Af literally has 0 notable strength feats. His strength should be assumed as that of a normal human, with an argument for peak human via his participation in the 3rd annual Hood Olympics men's jumping event. The roles are reversed here because John is the one who only has 1 strength feat, but that strength feat happens to be one of the most potent in RDC canon. In Black Avengers 3 Infinity War, John appears as Corvus Glaive and uses his trident to strike Vision so hard that he flies over 50 yards in less than a second and hits the ground so hard that it creates an explosion. That's fucking insane. That's fucking insane. Creating an explosion in this way implies Vision was flying through the air so fast that the air between him and the ground didn't have enough time to escape before he made impact, meaning it was compressed until it exploded. After reading 4 articles on applied physics, I now know how pre-stressed aluminum reacts to impact when mixed with copper oxide, but am reminded yet again that I'm not a fucking physicist. We have no idea how far fast Vision flew through the air, we have no idea what the ground he landed on consists of, and we have no idea what the actual AP value for this feat would actually be. What I do know is that this is easily a mid-tier feat. For someone to be strong enough to punch you so hard that you hit the ground and that makes an explosion is utterly insane. Think Spider-Man, Rock Lee, Wolverine, these are mid-tier characters. But as I said before, this is John's only strength feat, so to say he's mid wouldn't exactly be accurate. Yet again, John has literally 0 reaction feats. I can sense a pattern forming here because Af has 1. During Black Avengers, Af, as Hawkeye, dodges multiple punches from Desmond Hulk consecutively. That being said, Dodging punches from a normal guy just so happens to be more than John has on his record. RDC Af's only skill feats are as Black Hawkeye during the Black Avengers trilogy. He hit a side character with an arrow in Black Avengers 1, and in Black Avengers 3, he interrupted Corvus Glaive's fight with Spider-Man while Corvus Glaive was preoccupied fighting. So that's not necessarily a skill feat outside of the fact that Hawkeye is able to shoot a bow and arrow. Although John has 0 feats of hand-to-hand combat, he does have multiple feats of swordplay as Afro Samurai. John plays Shikamaru in Anime House 5 and 6, being present at the first gathering of the smartest anime characters of all time. He also takes part in the Suburb Olympics, Men's Calling the Cops. He confronts the volunteers immediately, having already called the cops. He also has everything recorded via a camera above his garage, which implies a level of forethought. Af's only intelligence feat is a statement of performing human transmutation and, quote-unquote, learning some of the most difficult scientific equations and theories in Anime House 5. That being said, Af was also present as Edward Elric in the first and second gatherings of the smartest anime characters of all time, which is notable. I'm gonna evaluate all of these stats again at the end, so now I'm just gonna move on to Constitution. Constitution is one's ability to defend from mental assaults like fear, intimidation, and instigating. John actually has negative Constitution, as he only has anti-feats on his record. In Men's Acting Like They're From the Hood, he gets hit one time, turns around, and runs full speed in the opposite direction. In Men's Jumping, he participates on Team Canada and is hit while they chase the volunteer down. He was hit so hard that he was sent stumbling backwards, reeling off of the screen. And in Men's Snitching, he snitched almost immediately. Once Ben threatened him with 10 years, it was over. RDC Af also has negative Constitution. He's literally so weak that RDC Thanos convinces him not to fight, instead just to pretend that he's knocked out and wait for the rest of the Avengers to wake up. And in K&D Black Sector, he gets kicked out of the K&D for being useless. RDC John has a decent number of general powers and abilities. Most notably, he can buy and sell objects within his own property, which means if you fight him within his own house, he'll have complete and utter control of the battlefield. As Kabuto, he's a master of stealth, being capable of remaining invisible to the viewers until Orochimaru told him to stand down. Pain claimed that he could see him the whole time anyway and just didn't do anything. Even then, he could use his chakra scalpels to immobilize his opponents and is capable of bypassing even Ichigo's senses and remaining hidden. Af, on the other hand, doesn't have any combat powers whatsoever, aside from maybe his skill as Black Hawkeye. Although he's stated to be able to use alchemy in Anime House 5, this is never actually shown. That being said, he did eat the spit fruit and participated in men's freestyle 8 bars in the first annual Hood Olympics, which implies great rapping prowess. In short, John and Af have the potential to be mid-tier, but sit solidly in enhanced due to their standout feats of strength and speed respectively. They're also both present at the first and second gatherings of the smartest anime characters of all time. In these regards, they do scale above some of the other members of RDC. But since most of their feats, like the overwhelming majority of their feats and stats, are normal human level or less than that with their negative Constitution, they remain the weakest members of RDC. I'll give RDC John the number 7 spot and RDC Af the number 6 spot. Now we're on to the number 5 spot. Let's get into it by discussing his. RDC Ben doesn't have any real feats of strength. He has feats, but they're all unquantifiable, or simply normal human level. He was capable of tackling Shooting Nation leader Desmond while he was preoccupied shooting at Leland in the Hood Avatar. He was capable of blocking Mark Ryu's Hadouken with his arms, and capable of intercepting Leland Balrog's attempts at wrapping him up. It's notable that Ben participated in men's jumping on Team America during the 3rd Hood Olympics and is the Boxing Nation leader. I personally think it's safe to say that RDC Ben's composite strength stat would be superhuman as the Boxing Nation leader, which means he's the strongest boxer in all of the hoods. We don't know how large or small the nations are in Hood Avatar, so we just know that out of a presumably large amount of people, enough people to sustain a population, he is the best boxer. He's a Hood Olympian, and as Sub-Zero, he's capable of blocking Hadouken with his arms, which is a pretty powerful feat. Hadouken can split rivers, can do all types of shit, blow shit up, and he can block it with his arms. Ben only has 2 good speed feats. He runs hands with Goku as Alien X faster than Eyesight, and he moves faster than Eyesight as Sensei Ben in anime you wouldn't want to be in during the Naruto segment. Basically meaning that he's faster than sound in terms of movement speed. Cut and dry. This puts him above both John and Af in terms of speed, as Af's previously mentioned speed feat was performed while standing still, and as Alien X, Ben did this. The difference is clear. Now let's look at his. RDC Ben is at least superhuman in terms of reactions. As the Boxing Nation leader, he's the strongest boxer in the hood. This should make him at least on par with John, who's the leader of the Western Hood and can react to bullets regularly. Ben himself was capable of dodging a bullet from a Shooting Nation soldier point blank, but it's a stretch to say that he can do this consistently or on the level of Leland or the Hood Avatar. RDC Ben's constitution isn't anything too impressive. Although he was confident running the ones with Black Thor as Iron Man during the Black Avenger series, and he was the one to tackle Desmond while Desmond was shooting the Hood Avatar in Leland, he was also extremely scared, fidgety, and disrespectful as the trigger-happy cop in Video Game House. When Mario mentions that they have a banana in the car, Ben Cop essentially loses his mind and ends up shooting Mario. This should balance out in composite, leaving RDC Ben susceptible to things like instigation, but not putting him on the level of someone like RDC John, who will literally run away from the fight when you punch him one time. Ben's list of intelligence feats is short yet notable. As Lelouch, he states that he had the ability to manipulate the governments of the entire planet. As Spike, he figures out that light is Kira immediately after he kills L. As Dr. Stone, he states that he was capable of rebuilding human civilization halfway back to normal from caveman times. He was also present as Lelouch during the first gathering of the smartest anime characters of all time, but in the second gathering, he was only exposed as an agent of Light Yagami. In composite, RDC Ben's intelligence level should be above that of RDC John and Af, as, in addition to being one of the smartest anime characters of all time, which both John and Af have feats of being, Ben also has feats of intelligence as Spike Spiegel and Dr. Stone. This next category is my personal favorite. Certain members of RDC employ a type of anti-talk no jutsu, which they can use to turn teammates against each other and elevate civil discourse into straight-up violence. This would come in handy if you were, say, about to get jumped. You could essentially beat the ops without lifting a single finger through. Ben served as an instigator during the first annual men's roasting event. As Spike Spiegel in Anime House, when he's asked by Inuyasha to turn his music down, he agrees, only to turn it back up when Inuyasha gets to his room. When Inuyasha challenges this, Spike claims that Inuyasha is just hating, and that he would play one of Inuyasha's themes if it would make him feel better. Inuyasha says he doesn't want this. Spike plays one of his themes anyway, only to immediately turn it off and claim that it's not it. This is straight ignorance, and everyone knows that ignorance beats logic every time. RDC Ben has a solid setup in regards to his powers and abilities. He can slow down time as Max Payne, as well as fire Ice Blast as Sub-Zero that are capable of canceling out Ryu's Hadouken. He can freeze opponents, and he can also use his cryokinesis to perform ice slides. He can perform Getsuga Tensho as Ichigo and is the Boxing Nation leader, which implies that he's the strongest boxer in the hood. His ability to slow down time is hacks. There are only a few ways that other members of RDC could counter that ability. But the ability to slow down time remains as his standout power and isn't enough to elevate Ben above the next person on the list. Ben is a skilled combatant. He's the best lookout in the West as per if anime took place in the hood, which implies observational skills and intelligence. He was the Boxing Nation leader in the Hood Avatar series, which implies he's the best fighter in the hood again. We see this as he defeats Boxing Nation Ippy in a 1v1 and was willing to fight 1v1 with John, although we don't see this fight, so we don't know whether he would have actually won. RDC Ben as Iron Man puts Black Thor on the ground with one of his repulsor blasts, which is only notable because of the fact that RDC Ben has repulsor blast in the first place, which basically means wherever RDC Ben goes, as long as he has at least the gloves on from his Iron Man suit, he can fire compressed energy blast from his palms at any time. His most impressive feat of special attack power is when using Alien X, he floors Deku, Jin Mori, Mob, and another character whose cosplay is entirely unrecognizable, all at the same time with an omnidirectional blast, and Mob is the only one who even gets up. Alright, finally let's look at his. And RDC Ben only has one feat of senses, as Sensei Ben, when he was capable of detecting RDC John and RDC Dylan as 2 of the 7 swordsmen of the mist during anime you wouldn't want to be in. It's not hinted at all whether he smells them, sees them, hears them, or any of that, but he does sense them. So it's a feat for his senses. Overall, RDC Ben is solidly enhanced. His speed was faster than eyesight as Alien X, and he was strong enough to fight Goku like this. His intelligence is genius level, being one of the smartest anime characters of all time. And his skill as the boxing nation leader / best lookout in the West should make him a master level combatant. He also has a very solid lineup of abilities, like being capable of slowing down time, basic cryokinesis as Sub-Zero, emitting energy and flying as Alien X, and performing Getsuga Tensho as Ichigo. At number 4, we have Leland Manigo. This is the part of the video where we're going to start seeing more consistent feats, where Ben, John, and Aph have their own individual characters that contribute their own individual feats to the composite form. Mark, Leland, Desmond, and Dylan have more feats in regards to these individual forms that would allow us to create a stronger composite. Let's start with Leland's strength feats are generally lackluster as he only has 2 of them. He takes part in multiple jumpings as Luigi in Video Game House, but these fights aren't exactly notable as him and Mario take part in the jumpings together. Either that or Luigi likes to sneak people, so his punches can't be entirely scaled when he's hitting people off guard. It's to be said that as Goku, he's capable of swapping hands with Alien X while in base, but Alien X doesn't exactly have quantifiable feats either, so that becomes moot. Leland's special attack power is notable as he was capable of killing Naruto instantly as Frieza with a death beam. And as Shinji in Anime House, he was capable of using Hand of the Storm technique, which Tetsu interrupts because it would quote-unquote destroy the entire area. Leland is solidly superhuman in terms of speed. All 3 of his only speed feats are faster than eyesight. In Hood Olympics, he was capable of performing a drug deal in the time it took for the viewers to perceive him and his customer dapping each other up, performing an action that originally took 18 seconds in the span of less than 1. He was capable of moving faster than eyesight as Frieza during his appearance on Video Game House, and he got the power of super speed on December 21st, 2020, adopting the name 4 Flat. Leland's skill is on par with that of a trained fighter. He was capable of defeating Wario and Waluigi in a 2v2 alongside Link. He defeated Vegeta in a 1v1 battle as Goku, and then later on was capable of defeating Vegeta in a 1v1 game of basketball as Frieza. While Waluigi and Wario have no quantifiable feats in this continuity, Vegeta is consistently capable of moving faster than eyesight. Leland is essentially consistently faster than him, being capable of beating him in sports and in fighting. RDC Lee is solidly faster than sound in terms of reactions. Almost all of his real reaction feats come from his participation in the last Hoodbender series as the Weaving Nation leader. He was capable of wielding 18 consecutive punches from the Hood avatar, 15 consecutive shots from his pistol, and submachine gun fire at close range. Leland's constitution is generally on the level of your normal guy. He participated on Team Canada during the 3rd annual Hood Olympics men's jumping event and was the first person to confront the volunteer. During men's snitching, he remained solid the entire time and never snitches, in the face of Detective Ben's repeated attempts to break his stance. These are strong showings, but Leland also said the N-word after like 2 sentences during N-word restraint, so it shows a lack of self-control. RDC Lee has a large multitude of powers and abilities. As Luigi in Video Game House, Leland has multiple lives. Mario even claims, "Thousands of my nephew!" After Luigi is killed by Ezio, but later on Luigi just resurrects anyway. After Mario was shot dead by Master Chief, he resurrects in 23 seconds. So it's easy to assume that Luigi, being from the same game franchise, would have the same ability. As Call of Duty Ghost, he's capable of calling Predator missiles at will. As Franklin, he's capable of accessing the weapon wheel and summoning all types of tools at will, as we see him do with an assault rifle. Assuming he has the same abilities as the other GTA characters like CJ, he most likely has the ability or weakness to incur stars and the ability to do automatic carjackings. As Frieza, he's capable of producing ki blasts from his hands and death beams from his fingers. He's capable of using Edo Tensei and producing swords from his throat as Orochimaru. He can switch into any J's at any time with his quirk switch, and he can put a target on anything no matter what it is, how far away it is, or its size with his quirk Bullseye. Leland is also certifiably the swaggiest member of RDC. His quirk switch plays directly into his performance in the first annual men's swag off and racist dressing events. Some members of RDC have showings of empowered gear. Empowered gear being weapons or tools that grant their user abilities or hold abilities themselves. RDC Lee possesses a version of Captain America's shield, which he uses to knock out a Dylan side character, block hunches from RDC Hulk, and RDC Thanos. Although the shield itself isn't too impressive, he also has a single piece of paper that if you fold it one time will destroy the entire planet.
A piece of paper?
Yes, a piece of paper.
Lee's intelligence is borderline featless. The only feat I took note of was the way Lee dances during the men's swag off, which nobody else thinks of. RDC Lee also uses the instigation technique, which is essentially the opposite of talk no jutsu. He isn't as skilled at this as RDC Mark, but still has a handle on roasting, which is a core tenet of instigation. He participates in the first annual Hood Olympics men's roasting event, which implies his ability to do so is in the upper echelon of the hood. As Luigi, he instigates Mario into roasting Link by adding ad-libs like "sus" and "get him, Mario." He also roasts the shit out of Master Chief as Luigi when Master Chief orders water at lunch. Chances are if you're getting water, you probably shouldn't be eating out. He's also boosted in this way when it involves Mario, as seen when he roasts the shit out of Link during an argument between him and Mario over speaking on his relationship with Peach. Up next, at the number 3 spot, we have RDC Dill. Before we get into it, I just wanted to take a second to thank everyone who's made it this far into the video. Thank you for sticking around. It means a lot because this video has taken forever to make. If you would drop a like and consider subscribing, I would be eternally grateful. Now let's take a look at RDC Dylan. RDC Dylan doesn't have many real strength feats. He was capable of knocking Black Iron Man out, but he had to use a rock. He was also capable of striking back against Team Canada while serving as the volunteer in the men's jumping event, hitting John so hard that he went stumbling backwards. Dylan only has one good feat of durability, seeing as he served as the volunteer for 4 consecutive jumpings and then just walked away at the end. He even had enough energy and vitality left in him to fight back against Team Canada. Dylan's reaction feats are notable but unquantifiable. He was capable of teleporting out of the way of one of Black Iron Man's repulsor blasts, weaving multiple punches from Luigi as Tails, and dodging multiple spirit guns from Yusuke as Akaza. I want to say these feats are around the speed of sound in terms of reactions, but Yusuke's spirit gun and Black Iron Man's repulsor blast are both unquantified. And we're back. It is now 4 days later. As you can see, I've changed my shirt. You may or may not have noticed that I got a new chair, and there's some more fish in my fish tank, so I'm pumped and ready to go. Let's continue this by moving on to RDC Dylan's speed feats. Dylan's only real speed feat is moving faster than eyesight alongside the rest of the Sonic cast. That doesn't mean that he scales to the rest of the Sonic cast, as he doesn't have any other supporting feats. Dylan has a comparatively smaller list of powers and abilities, but the combination of powers and abilities he does have access to, in my opinion, makes him one of the trickier members of RDC to fight. He's capable of teleportation and teleporting anything he's in contact with as Ryo Shimazaki. He's capable of materializing akimbo pistols and projecting his voice via voice chat as Fortnite. And as Tails, when facing injuries, instead of taking significant damage, he just drops rings. Even though he does act like it hurts, when he gets shot in the chest by Shadow, he screams, but as you can see, there's no physical damage. As the Sneaking Nation leader, he's the best sneak bender in the hood. His sneak bending is so strong that he can literally turn invisible in broad daylight. He's capable of phasing through solid objects and making other objects intangible when in contact with them as Danny Phantom, and can even use thunder breathing as Zenitsu, technically also making him the fastest member of RDC, but since this is a singular ability instead of his overall speed stat, that's a contentious point. This combination of powers and abilities is generally the reason why RDC Dylan is in the number 3 spot, because nobody below him has any counters to not being able to see or touch him or keep up with his teleportation at the exact same time. Even though RDC Ben can slow down time, if he can't see you to find where you are or touch you, then what's he going to be able to do? Dylan has 2 pieces of gear, the first of which being Candy Marshmallow Shooter, which shoots marshmallows hard enough to blast Businessman Desmond against the wall with 1 shot. This is a literal marshmallow. The second is a deck of cards, which breaks his opponent's bones for each number that he draws. For example,
My
which is entirely absurd. RDC Dylan's skill feats are fairly impressive. As Ezio, he's capable of sneaking up on people and one-tapping them with a hidden blade to the back of the neck multiple times. He's capable of utilizing his teleportation both as his side character in Black Avengers 2 and as Ryo Shimazaki to execute masterful hand-to-hand combat. He's even capable of using Drunken Fist via his portrayal in When the Person You're Fighting Fights Like a Video Game. His only feats of constitution are electing to sneak John in Hood Avatar 4, which didn't turn out well for him, and striking back at Team Canada while serving as the volunteer for men's jumping. And even the fact that he served as a volunteer for men's jumping in the first place means that he was cool. He literally volunteered to get beat up by multiple people multiple times. RDC Dylan has an impressive list of intelligence feats. During men's calling the cops, he calls the police and has the volunteers arrested without even leaving the house. He even told the police that the volunteers may or may not have weapons on them, which implies a level of forethought and scheming. He plays L in all 6 episodes of Anime House and is agreed upon by multiple genius level intelligence characters to be the smartest of them all. This included Nier, Shikamaru, Armin, and Edward Elric, just to name a few. RDC Dylan has decent feats of special attack power via Mob and Sasuke. As Sasuke, he was capable of breaking Aizen's Kyoga Suigetsu after a time using his combination Rinnegan and Sharingan. And as Mob, he was capable of making Alien X use effort to fight him when only being at 76%. He was also capable of restraining Sukuna as Mob until Madara stepped in. Sukuna does claim that Mob caught him off guard, but this is contentious. A lot of the things in this list are contentious, but just because someone catches you off guard and catches you in a hold doesn't mean he's not stronger than you if he's capable of holding you there. You may or may not be thinking to yourself, that's it? Think about it like this. Dylan can become invisible both via sneak bending and as Danny Phantom, so you can't sense him. As Danny Phantom, he can phase through objects, meaning walls, and he can make other people / objects phase as well, so you can't touch him or anything or anyone he doesn't want you to touch. He can remain stealthy by projecting his voice via voice chat as Fortnite without giving away his position. He has both the skill of a sneaking nation leader and Ezio Auditore. All of these previously mentioned things would basically play into the fact that he has hidden blades, so you can't see him. He can walk through walls and he can teleport, which he would use in combination with these hidden blades and his stealthy abilities to one-shot you. Unless you have enhanced durability, there's nothing you can do against a blade into the back of your neck. On top of all of this, as both L and Nier, Dylan is by far the smartest member of RDC. At the second meeting of the smartest anime characters of all time, it isn't contested at all when Lelouch says L is the smartest anime character out of all of them. I'll say it again now for I think the 3rd time in case y'all didn't catch it. You can't see or sense him, you can't touch him or anything he doesn't want you to touch. He's massively smarter than you. He can move massively faster than you could perceive if you could perceive him, and he could kill you immediately given that you don't have enhanced durability with hidden blades. Even without the hidden blades, he can use guns or lightning breathing while still remaining invisible. Given that this is composite, he can use all of his abilities at one time. So he's invisible and he can go and it's over. Okay, we're in the home stretch now. It's time to talk about our number 2 spot, RDC Desmond. Dez is physically the strongest member of RDC. As Hulk, he sleeps Af Hawkeye, Ben Iron Man, and Mark Thor with singular punches. He was also capable of punching Cole Obsidian so far that he disappeared from sight, which is easily a wall level feat as it would require over 275 kilojoules of force to launch a 200-pound man farther than the eye could see. As Meliodas, he fights Mark Payne and blitzes one of the Payne bodies with an attack so hard and fast that it sends him flying off of the battlefield, or at least out of frame. And as Vegeta, he knocks Alien X down for a time while in Super Saiyan Blue, and knocks Goku out of Super Saiyan Blue with one punch. It's also to be noted that this is unquantified, but it is a more quantifiable feat, where Desmond punches Goku while he's on the ground so hard that it creates a dust cloud. I'm not a mathematician or a physicist, so I could never calculate how much force it would take to create this dust cloud. But maybe one of you can. If you're capable of performing the calculations for any of the feats I mentioned in this video, please feel free to get in contact with me and let me know. If it's verifiable, For sure, I'll incorporate it into something in the future. As John, Desmond is capable of blocking bullets using his metal jaw, which is massively superhuman. He was also capable of using the same metal jaw to block a punch from the Hood avatar so hard that it created a visible shockwave. The amount of force it would take to create a shockwave like this on contact with something is utterly absurd, and is easily wall level. I would bet the coins on it. As Saints Row, he was confident that he would be unaffected by rounds from 2 assault rifles and an RPG at the same time, simply because he had armor on. RDC Dez only needs these feats to achieve room to small building levels of durability, which is more than any other member of RDC. RDC Desmond is solidly faster than sound in terms of movement and combat speed. As John, he was capable of getting up from the ground and moving in from out of frame to save the Hood avatar from a bullet that had already been fired and blocking it with his jaw. He was capable of catching Black Thor at the house, despite him having literally teleported there with lightning. As Sonic, he consistently moves faster than Eyesight, and he states that both he and Shadow are faster than the bullets from Shadow's gun, thus making the gun obsolete. And as Sonic, he's basically shown to move around Mario's mansion so fast that he's essentially teleporting. So yeah, it's safe to say that RDC Dez is solidly faster than sound in terms of movement and combat speed. Let's move on to his. Desmond has the skill of a trained soldier simply based on the fact that he's the shooting nation leader, implying he's the best shooter in the Hood. He's dexterous enough to roll 100 blunts in under 5 minutes. As John, he's also the leader of his section of the boxing nation, being capable of beating a pit bull in a 1v1 and blocking attacks using the metal plate in his jaw. He was even capable of outboxing the Hood avatar and knocking him into the avatar state. Although RDC Ben is the boxing nation leader, the scaling points to John being more powerful than him, as he was able to run the ones with the Hood avatar. The Hood avatar in turn was capable of handling the shooting, weaving, and boxing nation leaders at the exact same time, and later handling the boxing, weaving, and sneaking nation leaders at the exact same time. John beat him in the 1v1 when he wasn't in the avatar state. It took him being knocked into the avatar state to beat John, which means John is more powerful than Ben, Leland, and Dylan. His only feats of special attack power are when he used his combination Rinnegan Sharingan to incapacitate Mob Psycho, and when he used Chibaku Tensei to call down a meteor on the anime house that was this big. Like, look at that explosion. That in itself is the most powerful feat of all of RDC lore, but it's not necessarily a direct feat of his power, so it goes under special attack. Desmond's reaction feats are largely lackluster, mainly consisting of human-level feats like swapping hands with Pain at normal speed, blocking number 100's rubber band gun, and weaving Mark's Hajime no Ippo barrage. That being said, he was capable of keeping up with the Hood avatar in hand-to-hand combat as John. The Hood avatar is consistently capable of dodging bullets and tagging other people who are capable of dodging bullets, basically meaning that since John can consistently weave his punches to the point where he's superior to the Hood avatar in boxing skill, like again, he knocked him into the avatar state, his reactions are easily faster than sound or bullet time. Like, he even has additional feats of reactions as Hisoka contending with Deku using full cowling, who, as you can see, is moving faster than Eyesight. Desmond has great feats of constitution, heating up on people repeatedly as RDC Hulk, knowing damn well he's the strongest Black Avenger, as well as being confident enough to challenge the Hood avatar to the 1v1 with intent to kill as John. Even when John is caught lacking by a group of Shooting Nation soldiers, including Shooting Nation leader Desmond, he doesn't back down. Yes, he lets Desmond kill him, but he remains solid, okay? He lets him kill him because he's done with the war, not because he turns into a pussy, not because he turns and runs. That being said, if you look at Desmond's participation in N-word restraint, it shows my guy has a lack of self-control. Nevertheless, his constitution is higher than everyone below him on this list. Desmond is the only member of RDC with negative intelligence. His only intelligence feat is an anti-feat in which he looks over his shoulder so many times while running from the cops in Men's Running from the Cops that it gets him caught. Some people might say this isn't an intelligence anti-feat, but me personally, I think it's common sense that if you're running for your life, you're running from the police, you don't look back. Everyone knows that if you're running, looking back is just going to slow you down and trip you up. All right, moving on to Desmond has a small number of instigation feats, but there's still an argument to be had that he's a match for Mark in this category. As Sonic, he's literally stated by Mario to instigate and cause problems with every word that he says. I mean, just listen to him. And as Vegeta, he also engages in a roast against Yusuke and handles him. RDC Desmond has an impressive list of general powers and abilities. He can project his voice via VC as Fortnite, just like Dylan. As a businessman from KND Black Sector, he can convert people into employees, essentially assimilating them into a hive mind. He's capable of flight, generating ki blasts, and increasing his overall power level via Super Saiyan transformations as Vegeta. He can use Hisoka's Nen ability Bungee Gum, Rinnegan Ocular Prowess, Sharingan Ocular Prowess, which is what I think's happening when he incapacitates Mob using his Rinnegan Sharingan combo, and he can use the Perfect Susanoo. In a whole lot of scary shit, Desmond has fear manipulation and illusion manipulation as the Black Spirit. He can summon hood dudes to fight for him. He can banish you to another dimension by clapping. He's capable of using Iron Reaver Soul Stealer, full counter, literally seeing 0.3 to 0.5 seconds in the future, which they downplay as a terrible power, but in hand-to-hand combat, half a second will let you dodge a punch. My man is even so bullshit that he can imbue the sunlight with poison by increasing its UV rays. Yes, it's not technically poison, but it does the same thing, so they call it a poison. He's even capable of increasing the sun's UV rays and using that to poison the entire planet. When Mark goes, Desmond doesn't deny it, he literally confirms it, just saying that he has to win the fight. He's capable of using a poison so powerful that his blade doesn't even have to cut your skin. It can just graze your skin and you'll die. The poison was capable of killing 17 whales. Hopefully by this point you're seeing why Desmond is number 2 on the list. Desmond only has 2 notable pieces of gear. He carries the Twin Reaper Blades, which are twin black sabers which allow him to use a one-hit kill move. He carries a foam ring as well, which banishes people to another dimension simply by pointing it in your direction. As Halo, he has access to shields. Overshields to be exact. As Fortnite and Halo, he has access to guns, and specifically as Fortnite, he has access to the Fortnite pickaxe. These, in combination with his long list of general powers and abilities, basically make him one of the haxiest characters you would ever come across in any inverse battle if you were to use RDC Desmond Composite. In addition to being the second strongest character in the last Hoodbender series via his showings as John, and the second strongest character in the Anime House series via his showings as Madara, he's skilled enough to defeat the Hood Avatar and knock him into the Avatar state. His constitution is higher than everybody below him on this list as Madara, John, and Hood Nation leader Desmond. Basically meaning the scaling puts him at number 2 objectively throughout all formats. Even in Video Game House, he plays Sonic, who's shown to be faster than everybody else. Even though Shadow presses him, there's not necessarily any feats that say that Shadow is stronger than Sonic. Sonic even says that he's faster than the bullets from Shadow's gun, which is the thing that makes everybody else in the Video Game House scared of him on top of his relativistic speed, relativistic to Sonic. Basically meaning that his stats plus his exhaustive list of powers and ability makes him too much for any other member of RDC to handle, except our number 1 pick, finally, RDC Mark. In terms of strength, RDC Mark is solidly enhanced. We see him utterly foderize normal people on a myriad of occasions. He knocks Leland out with 1 bop to the head from a wooden sword in When People Take Anime Too Far, and in the same series, he harnesses Saitama to one-shot both Dylan and Aff. He does the same thing as Saitama to a nameless villain in anime you wouldn't want to be in. He harnesses Detroit Smash to hit Desmond so hard it replays 3 times in When People Take Anime Too Far. And in Christmas Thieves, he basically turns into Liam Neeson and overpowers Aff, Desmond, and Leland with ease. His most quantifiable strength feats are sending Thanos flying over 50 yards in less than a second, knocking Alien X into the sky and battling him faster than eyesight, causing moderate damage to a car, sending Thanos flying in such a manner as vastly superhuman. RDC Thanos weighs at least 200 pounds, so for Thor to send him flying in such a manner implies that he can output at least 2.7 kilojoules of force with a single strike. This is street level at bare minimum, as this is one of his strikes, although it was a running up strike. His ability to contend with a horse in the 1v1 and quote-unquote beat it up implies that he's superior to the horse to the point where it's not a real fight, he's just beating it up. The average force of a horse's kick is around 10,000 joules, but that in itself is only about half of wall level. The entire wall is not disintegrating at his punches like it would for a lot of our comic book characters. His feat of throwing Alien X into the sky and fighting him faster than eyesight is unquantifiable, but is very obviously above wall level. If we assume Alien X weighs around the same as your average adult man, then this feat should be multiple times more powerful than that of Thor versus Thanos. RDC Saitama is also propelling himself through the air in order to accomplish this feat without the ability of flight and creating shockwaves with his punches, so it's safe to say that RDC Saitama is at least wall to room level. It's also notable that as Luffy, he's capable of using his Gum Gum fruit to launch projectile shockwaves with his punches. The ability to create a shockwave with your punches implies that you're punching fast and hard enough that the air in front of your fist doesn't have any time to get away and is compressed into heat and creates an explosion, which is insane. Again, I'm not a physicist, so I can't really calculate that, but it's at least wall level. Mark is solidly superhuman in terms of durability. His highest feats of durability are remaining undamaged after a blast from one of Black Iron Man's repulsors, tanking punches from Alien X as Saitama, and punching John 5 times in the jaw without damaging his hands. Sneaking Nation leader Dylan snuck John in the jaw and his hand was injured, and a normal guy named Jay punched John in the jaw one time and his hand was, quote, never the same. John is even capable of no-selling small arms fire with his jaw, which is entirely superhuman, as well as being capable of remaining undamaged after being punched in the jaw so hard that it created a visible sound wave, which is insane. That being said, Mark has a myriad of anti-feats portraying his characters as having normal human durability. Although it would take more than a gunshot to kill the Hood Avatar, a shot to the stomach still injures and renders him unconscious. As Mario, he's shown to be killed with normal pistols multiple times. And as Thor, although he remains undamaged, he's visibly pained by Iron Man's repulsor blasts. As Saitama, Mark's durability is something else entirely, being capable of tanking Vegeta's attacks and fighting 1v1 with Alien X, both of whom strike hard enough to create shockwaves with their punches casually, which Saitama is capable of doing himself, so it's only reasonable to assume that he can tank the same amount of force that he can output with his fists. RDC Mark is much faster than the speed of sound in terms of movement and combat speed. In Hood Olympics, Mark scales to Leland and Af, who are capable of performing a drug deal faster than eyesight. Mark outruns them both during men's dice rolling, after they contest his role. It's to be said that these versions of Leland and Af were unnamed, and that the ability to perform a drug deal faster than eyesight doesn't necessarily equate to the ability to run at those speeds. That being said, RDC Mark is still arguably peak human in terms of speed, when barring the previously mentioned feat, assuming the previously mentioned versions of Af and Leland are separate from the previously mentioned faster than eyesight speed feat. They would still be Hood Olympians, which implies they are part of the upper echelon of physical ability. Mark also easily outsped the police officer and men's running from the cops. Looking at Hood Avatar, Anime House, and Video Game House, we see Mark's speed feats spike drastically. As Shadow in Video Game House 6, he repeatedly presses Sonic, which implies a higher power level. We also see him move faster than eyesight alongside the rest of the Sonic cast at the end of the episode. Sonic states during an interview that he and Shadow are faster than a bullet from Shadow's pistol, so it's safe to assume that Mark is faster than sound as Shadow. He's quick enough to materialize a pistol and shoot it before Desmond can pull the trigger, and fast enough to tag the Weaving Nation leader, who in turn can weave submachine gun fire at close range. Also in the Avatar state, Mark was capable of maxing out John via boxing, basically meaning, yet again, Mark is faster than sound in terms of combat and movement speed. Finally, coming to Anime House, Mark is yet again faster than eyesight as Deku, while using full cowling. As Pain, he was capable of catching Meliodas off guard with Shinra Tensei after literally saying Shinra Tensei out loud. As Luffy, he was capable of dodging Madara's fire style and disappearing from the frame, and in Gear 5, he entirely blitzes Madara. As a whole, RDC Mark is at least FTS plus. He has multiple feats of moving faster than eyesight and multiple instances of scaling with and above characters who move faster than eyesight. His combat speed is relative to bullets, and even without his superpowered variants, there's an argument to be made for peak human as a hood Olympian. RDC Mark is solidly faster than sound in terms of reactions. This is to be expected when you think about his combat and movement speed feats. Most of his reaction feats come from the Hood Avatar series, where he's consistently shown to weave and block bullets. He's capable of weaving gunfire from Desmond at close range, with Desmond being the shooting nation leader, which in turn implies that he's the strongest in the Hood, the best shooter in the Hood. Once, while he was in the spirit realm, he used seismic sense to perceive a gun being fired right behind his head, and he reacted fast enough to come back to the physical plane and weave the bullet. While in the avatar state, he was even capable of weaving gunfire while tied up and sitting down. His overall scaling suffers minutely because he lacks solid speed feats as Mario and couldn't react to Dylan's character in Black Avengers 1. That being said, in a composite form, such anti-feats become irrelevant. RDC Mark has an impressive record in terms of skill. As Black Thor, he broke Black Iron Man's ankles despite Tony using Jarvis to predict his moves. He's shown to be a skilled fighter throughout Video Game House. Although he and Luigi generally fight together, they're still shown jumping people multiple times. Mario also fully handles Sora with ease. Sora claims that Mario snuck him in an interview, but Mario literally announced, "Here we go," and waited a second before throwing the first punch. As Scorpion, he was capable of defeating Desmond Sub-Zero in single combat and killing him with a fatality right out of Mortal Kombat. As Ryu, he defeated both Balrog and Sub-Zero using his supernatural martial arts. And as the Hood Avatar, Mark is at the skill level of a master of boxing and gun kata. He was capable of fighting the weaving, shooting, and boxing nation leaders at the same time on one occasion, and the weaving, boxing, and sneaking nation leaders at the same time on another occasion. The Avatar handled them both times in base and while holding back. The average shooting nation soldier is fodder to him, and he's literally capable of hanging with them while surrounded, tied up, and sitting down. Not only is he quick enough to tag the weaving nation leader with straight punches, he's also skilled enough to fool him with a fake and lay him out that way. In Christmas Thieves, Mark turns into Liam Neeson when a group of burglars enter his home to steal his presents. He's easily capable of knocking them out with neck chops, disarming them, and generally overwhelming them in terms of combat prowess. He's capable of harnessing anime like Hajime no Ippo to perform 16 hook combos, and when people take anime too far. And in Anime House, he was capable of contending with both Tanjiro and Shinra Kusakabe for a time until he apparently fled while off screen as Aang. As Sukuna, Mark was capable of no-diffing Sakura, Boa Hancock, Hinata, and Sailor Moon at the same time. RDC Mark is generally a master of hand-to-hand combat and gun kata, and it shows. Mark's constitution is solid. Mark is generally down to run hands throughout his iterations despite the odds. With that in mind, he also has a number of anti-feats to this aspect, which essentially give him the constitution of your average person. In N-word restraint, he's capable of resisting saying the gamer word despite mistaking Leland for someone named Demetrius. As CJ, he heats up at both Sora and Kratos when they reject his request to go to the mall with them. When Leland, as Call of Duty Ghost, calls a Predator missile down on the house, he heats up on him, confident that he would win the fight, and after Leland requests CJ put the gun away, he presses him, confident that he would win the ones. He presses John Scorpion as Ryu, and even though he's visibly frightened at the sight of Knuckles, he fights him anyway. It's to be said that later in this episode, Mario is literally trembling and left taking his grills out at the thought of being punched by Knuckles. He snitched fairly quickly during men's snitching when Detective Skinner whips out a large Big Mac meal from McDonald's and reveals that Mark's homies have already snitched on him. The detective cites the clothes that Mark was wearing on the night of the crime, and Mark cracks. Mark lets slip who all was there and what they did. He even agrees to tell the police where they stay. As Light Yagami, he attempts to lie to Naruto, Spike, and L, claiming that he had gone to the store, to which Naruto points out that he had been gone for 2 hours. Light fumbles and changes the entire lie, saying that he was at the gym. Spike points out that he's clearly lying. L appears from around the corner and points out that Light isn't sweating and has no groceries, deducing that there's a 40% chance that Light is really Kira. So overall, Mark has the constitution of a normal guy. And we're back for day 3 of filming. Yet again, I'm in another shirt. I know to you it's only been a few seconds, if that, but for me it's been 2 days. Mark's sensory prowess is, again, largely superhuman. He was capable of detecting and reacting to a strike from Sneaking Nation leader Dylan, who was using the hood sneaking technique, or sneak bending as I like to call it. He was capable of sensing a bullet fired in the physical realm while in the spirit realm, and most impressively, he's capable of sensing and keeping track of the number of molecules in any given room. Mark only has 4 pieces of gear that we see on screen and get a description of what they actually do, 2 of which being from K&D Black Sector, Lemonade and Hands. Lemonade is a small explosive that douses opponents in lemon juice to impair their sight, and Hands are simply his hands. His more powerful pieces of gear are James Bond's golden gun and his home run bat, which hits with 100 home runs from Barry Bonds no matter how hard or soft he hits you with the bat. TLDR, Mark is easily the strongest member of RDC. He has the highest skill level as the Hood Avatar, given that he has feats of superiority over all 4 of the Hood Nation's leaders in base. RDC Mark is at least FDS plus in terms of movement and combat speed, as well as reactions, which basically means Desmond and Leland are the only ones who can even contend with him in terms of speed. Everyone else is getting blitz off rip. He has multiple feats of moving faster than eyesight and at bullet time, as well as multiple feats in scaling parallel to and above other people who can move faster than eyesight and at bullet time. His showings as Saitama are all that's really necessary to put him above every other member of RDC in terms of strength and durability. Although Desmond has good showings of speed as John and Madara, he's still overshadowed by Mark's showings as Shadow the Hedgehog. Although Dez achieved Super Saiyan Blue in Anime House, he's still overshadowed by Saitama in terms of strength and durability, as Desmond only knocked Alien X down once, same with Goku, while they were both off guard, and Saitama was capable of maxing out Vegeta while he was in base. Okay, Vegeta knocked out Alien X and Goku in Super Saiyan Blue, but Saitama was capable of maxing him out entirely while he was in base and maxing out Alien X entirely in a few seconds. And there we have it, the comprehensive scale of RDC. Peace.